What's up everybody, I'm Brandon, and we got a buttload of game sales news to talk about today. That's right, we got the NPD for March 2022 that dropped yesterday, everything from Xbox absolutely crushing it in hardware sales, to Elden Ring continuing to be a worldwide phenomenon, and Gran Turismo 7 coming up from behind. We got all that and more on another episode of Game Corner. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you like what I do, please like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more, and I'll stop wasting your time. So first things first, we got our total game sales for March 2022. As you can see, hardware and software are down to the lowest they've been all year long. Unfortunately, we are still having these continuing supply issues with these chip shortages, just not being able to get consoles manufactured and getting them on shelves. Obviously, a low stock means less consoles. Less consoles means less people buying next-gen video games and accessories, leading to this overall decline in revenue for the entire game industry. That all being said, somehow Xbox has been able to kind of shift around this chip shortage at least better than Nintendo and Sony have, and has actually become the most sold hardware of March 2022 in units and dollar sales. Pretty impressive stuff. PlayStation and Xbox are still being beat out by Nintendo Switch as far as total units and dollar sales go for the entire year. But as far as March goes, Xbox took the lead here. It sounds like Xbox's manufacturing partners really came through for them here and have been able to manufacture more consoles for them, obviously getting more on shelves and more into people's hands. This is likely due to Microsoft making a huge investment in chip production last year in April. Nick Baker from the Xbox Era podcast actually said this about that investment. Effectively, Microsoft paid for chip priority at the factories, which is why we saw and are still seeing so much more Xbox stock now. How do you think they pulled off in that chip shortage? They paid for the chip priority. Money was the reason. Microsoft paid to increase their production and have more stock. To me, this is a smart investment. This is the time to do it. People want stock. If you want more subscribers on Game Pass, you're not going to get them if people can't get the console. Obviously, this had yet to pay off until this month, but it is kind of interesting to see that they're finally taking a lead here, and this might end up continuing throughout the year. We can also assume that the Xbox Series S plays a large hand in this as well. Even though it's sort of a stepping stone into next gen, the Xbox Series S has been proven to not be hit as hard by this chip shortage as the Series X and the PS5 have. Obviously, it uses less powerful hardware that's already on the market. And at that cheaper price point, it's a really easy way to get people in on Game Pass, their subscription service that they're trying to sell to everyone, and also obviously into the Xbox ecosystem. Next up is the year-to-date sales, which obviously we can see kind of the degradation of game sales across the whole industry here. Once again, likely due to this whole chip shortage situation. Even though demand is very high for these consoles, there's just not enough supply to meet that demand. We got to keep in mind that these are still historically high numbers for the video game industry. However, there was a huge increase in spending when it comes to people staying at home from COVID, and we're just kind of starting to see the fallout from that, and also this chip shortage kind of all culminating at the same time here. Still though, the video game industry is at historical highs here, and it really seems to just be on this upward trend at the moment. Everybody seems to be getting into video games, everybody seems to want to work in the video game industry, and I think you're going to continue to see this trend go up and up. Anyway, moving on, we got the top 20 video games of March 2022. Obviously, we got Elden Ring still holding down that #1 slot. And then Gran Turismo 7 sneaking up from behind into the second slot. Pretty impressive stuff. And then even Kirby coming in at third I think is pretty impressive as well. I definitely didn't see the pink puffball selling as many copies as it says he has here. Kirby's generally like a side series when it comes to Nintendo franchises. So I'm really glad to see games like this and Metroid selling so well, because it means we're going to end up seeing a return on that with sequels. And then we got MLB The Show 22 in 4th and Horizon 2 Forbidden West falling into 5th place. Keep in mind when we're looking at NPD information, there are a few caveats here. People like Nintendo don't share their first-party physical sales. People like Activision Blizzard won't provide their Battle.net information, etc. Back to the top 5 here though, Elden Ring is still absolutely crushing in sales. We do know that as of last month on March 16th, Bandai Namco did announce that they've sold 12 million copies. We can only assume that if they're already selling this many copies, they're just going to end up selling even more copies. Truly a worldwide phenomenon. Matt Piscatella over on Twitter even says, Elden Ring showing an inverse decay curve, which is rare to say the least. Very strong word of mouth. A true blockbuster. A little math lesson for you guys who don't know. An exponential decay curve looks like this. And Wikipedia defines this exponential decay as a quantity is subject to exponential decay if it decreases at a rate proportional to its current value. So basically, an inverse decay curve is going to show exponential growth at a rate proportional to its current value, and in comparison, that looks like this. Matt Piscatella actually breaks this down a little bit better in another tweet, reading, usually game sales follow a somewhat normalized demand curve that starts high and falls over time. Sometimes, and it's very rare, a game will see higher sales in the months following launch. So instead of sales decaying, a decay curve, they grow. So yeah, absolutely historical time for From Software and Bandai Namco right now. They truly have just hit it out of the park with Elden Ring. And I think you're gonna go on to see this game sell a lot more copies. We shouldn't sleep on Gran Turismo and MLB The Show though. That's pretty impressive that they were able to come in at second and third, being PlayStation exclusives and with this huge PS5 shortage. We should keep in mind that these games are both on PS4, so probably a larger amount of people are buying the games on that console, but still not something to shy away from here. I mean, when 3 of the top 5 most sold games of the month are PlayStation Studio titles, you gotta see that they're doing something right over there. If hardware was in a better place, I can only imagine you would see these numbers be even higher too. Even with the chip shortages, this isn't the first time we've seen PlayStation Studio titles absolutely climbing to the top in the past few months. And we're just gonna end up seeing this grow even more once PS5s are getting in more people's hands. Anyway, definitely curious to see how this all pans out for the rest of the year, especially with stuff like Elden Ring being continually at the top of the charts here. And then games like Gran Turismo kind of sneaking up into the second place there. We're definitely starting to see some pretty interesting stuff go down in the NPDs. So last but not least, we're going to look at the year-to-date most sold games. So this is most sold of 2022. Elden Ring, Pokemon, and Horizon are still holding down those first 3 slots, man. With Gran Turismo once again coming up from behind into the 4th slot. Really impressive. I honestly didn't think there were that many racing fans out there, but I think just having such a long period of time between like the last big Gran Turismo title and this one got a lot of people really jazzed. It even took over Call of Duty and Madden, so once again, clap of hands to them. Anyway, we will continue to keep looking at NPDs throughout the year and kind of following game sales and what's kind of at the top of the charts. I always like looking over this stuff, and you guys seem to like these videos as well. Let me know what you think about this month's game sales. Who do you think is going to be coming out on top next month? And even though we're kind of coming into that slow summer period, what are you guys looking forward to next? Before I go, I did want to mention really quick that you guys can follow me on Twitter over at FlusteredTomcat. I'm constantly on Twitter throughout the day, throughout the week, updating you guys with what I'm doing with videos, when they're going to be released, and, you know, just talking about bullshit. So if you guys want updates for the show or to know when new stuff is coming out, please go and follow me over on Twitter at FlusteredTomcat. Anyway, I'm Brandon. This was the Game Corner episode on the March 2022 NPD. Thanks for watching, and have a kick-ass week.